Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. Today we will continue our lab, the Tron Legacy lab. This is the 8th video. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been preparing ourselves to make a migration from an old domain to the new domain, so we make something called Active Directory Forest Trust between the two domains so we can begin the migration process. But there is a problem with the trust. It was failed because the name of the old domain controller and the new domain controller, they have the same server name. So I have changed the name of my new domain controller server name to a new name, and I also have changed the domain name from mcom-mf version 2 to mcom-mf to mcom grid new. Okay, this fixed the issue for me. Okay, in some reference videos I used, there was no problem with having the two domain controllers with the same name, but this what happened for me, and this was the fix. And then we begin our steps for completing the migration process. Okay, there is a little bit of steps. I need to show you all the graph, and this we will follow until we complete the migration process successfully. So here we can see that this is the migration process. What we will do here, this is the steps. So what we have done, we have already put the DNS of the old domain controller in the new domain controller network connection setting, and I put the new domain controller DNS setting in the old domain controller network connection setting, this DNS setting in all DCs, and then we have created the trust. And then the third step we have done in the previous video, that we have putting the DNS suffix of each domain in the other network setting of the other domain. For example, we put the DNS suffix of the new domain in the new domain controller in the old domain controller, and we have put the DNS suffix of the old domain controller in the new domain controller. Okay, or we have put the DNS suffix of the old domain in the new domain, and I put the DNS suffix of the new domain in the old domain. We have done this also in the previous video. And then we have begin installing the SQL Express, or we didn't this SQL Express, this is a database that the Active Directory migration tool uses to store the different Active Directory objects in it. Okay, there was a problem with installing SQL Express on Hyper-V. It wasn't successful, and there was a problem. So I used, instead of SQL Express, I used SQL 2016. So I have installed both SQL 2016 on the old domain controller and on the new domain controller. Okay, and we have the DNS suffix changed to both domain controllers, and the trust was made and the DNS setting was made. Okay, so in this video what we will do, we will begin installation of the Active Directory Migration Tool program version 3.2, and then we will begin creating an encryption key. This encryption key we will use to migrate the Active Directory passwords, Active Directory username passwords to the new domain. So the passwords of the Active Directory user in the old domain will travel or will be migrated to the new domain. So your user will have the same username or Active Directory username and the same password. Okay, so we'll do this in this video, and then we will complete the other steps, but we will begin doing this in this video. So here we have done this, installed the SQL 2016, and then we will begin our video. In this video we will begin installation of the Active Directory migration tool. Just a moment. Here we will have the video. This is the lab, and then this is the 9th video, and then we will begin installation. So here we will begin installation of the Active Directory migration tool. This is the 5th steps, and then we will begin creating an encryption key. This encryption key will secure the migration of the Active Directory users passwords from the old domain to the new domain. You can download the Active Directory migration tool from Microsoft website, and also the password migration tool. Okay, so because there is sorry guys, because there is two tools, one the Active Directory migration tool, and then there is another tool called password migration tool. We will use both tools We use both of these tools in our video. So we will use the Active Directory migration tool to migrate the different Active Directory objects, and we will use the password migration tool to migrate the Active Directory user's password from one domain to another. Okay, so this is 10.0.1.100. This is my host, which is my laptop. So I am accessing my hard disk of my laptop, which is the host, and to get or to copy the Active Directory migration tool program installation file and the password migration tool program. Okay, so here now they will begin this process. It's called ADM setup 32. Okay, this is the it has two versions, the 32-bit and the 64-bit, so you can choose what you want. And then the PWD migration, password migration. So there is two programs, one for the Active Directory migration tool and the one for the password migration tool. And then we will begin set up the Active Directory migration tool. It will check for the SQL database, okay, because as I said before, it will use it to store different Active Directory objects of both domains. So here we will agree on the license agreement, and then next, and then you not want to join this, and then he wants the SQL database or the SQL server name, okay, the SQL server name. So this will be our new domain controller server name, okay, HDSS WinOS S02. Okay, so this is the SQL server, because this server is a domain controller and the SQL server in the same time. Okay, so now he will begin installation of the Active Directory migration tool. So now we need to go to the old domain controller and do this and do the same. So now we will go to the old domain controller and begin the installation also of the Active Directory migration tool. And after finish installation of the Active Directory migration tool, we will create an encryption key, okay, and then we will use it with the password migration program to give it to the password migration program, so he can use it to encrypt the connection between the two domain controllers and to encrypt the passwords of the users during the migration of them. Okay, so here we will begin also installation of the two programs for the Active Directory migration tool and the password migration tool. So we'll copy them and paste, and then begin installation of the Active Directory migration tool. When I was recording this video, this was the latest version, Active Directory 3.2. Maybe there is other versions, but the same steps are applied. We agree on the license agreement, and then next, I don't want to join, and then we'll put the SQL server name, which is our old domain controller server name, which is SDSS WinOS S01. Okay, and then next, and then we'll begin installation of the Active Directory migration tool. So at the end, we have successfully installed the Active Directory migration tool. It will be in a separate console. I tried to put it in our custom console, but it is a little bit crowded here in this custom console, so we will put it or leave it in a separate console. Okay, so we not also get confused. Okay, and actually when I try to add the snap-in for the Active Directory migration tool console, I didn't find it, so we will use our Active Directory migration tool in a separate console. Okay, so here I can't find the Active Directory migration tool console snap-in. So if you open the programs, okay, or start in programs, you will find it in the administrative accessories or administrative tools. Okay, you will find it something called Active Directory Migration Tool. This is the one that we will use and we will begin migrating in a certain sequence. I will show you all, and this is very critical to follow this sequence. Okay, but first we have finished the installation of the Active Directory Migration Tool. So now what we will do, we need to create, first of all, this is the console, and we need to create an encryption key. This encryption key will decrypt the connection between the old domain and the new domain, so the passwords of the Active Directory users is migrated successfully and securely. Okay, so we need to open a command prompt, and by the command prompt we will create this encryption key. Okay, so we need to make a CMD, and then we will type the following command. This command will create an encryption key. We will give it to the password migration tool so it can encrypt the connection between the old domain controller and the new domain controller. Okay, to of course successfully migrating the passwords of the users. Okay, so we'll type it as it is, and we will make this encryption key on the new domain controller. So this is, by Telegram we want to create a key, and this key is for the source domain, which is our old domain, which is incom.mf.local. So we are creating an encryption key to transfer passwords of the old domain, which is incom.mf.local. And then slash, and this key file, it will have a name. This encryption key will have a name and a destination, so we will put it on my desktop. Okay, this is my C users administrator. I will put it on my desktop for my administrator Windows account. Okay, and then file will be, the name of the file will be file migration pass.pse slash key password. Okay, so this will be the name of the file. It will be named key migpass.pes, and then the password. Okay, we will put a password for this encryption key, will be pass@123. Okay, so we will show you all why we need this password. So this password will be provided for the password migration tool to confirm that the encryption key is valid and working. Okay, so we are doing this, why? Because we need to migrate the Active Directory passwords of the users successfully and securely. So we will copy this file and we'll put it on the old domain controller, and we will set up the password migration tool on the old domain controller. Okay, and I will show you all what is the steps. So now we are I am transferring it to my old domain controller. Okay, and then we will set up the password migration tool on the old domain controller, which contains the passwords that I need to migrate. Okay, so now and then what we will do here is there is a step. I need to clarify it here. We need to, the step, it's called here add migration Active Directory migration account in administrators group. I said before that we need to have an Active Directory username that will be responsible for the migration process from the two domains. So we need these two users to be in the administrators group on the domain controller of both. So there is a local group on each domain controller, on the old domain controller and the new domain controller. You need your Active Directory migrations to migration users that will be responsible for the migration process. You need them to be in the administrators group in both domains, in the old domain and new domain, so they can have a full rights on the domain and full rights on the domain controller. So this is also a very important step. So I have my administrator account. I will use it in the migration, so it is typically in the administrators group, or you can create a username in the Active Directory and put it in the administrators groups in the Active Directory, and this will be enough. You need to do this in both domains. Okay, so we'll do this. So here in the administrators, this is in the new domain members. Here I can put my username Keraof. So I have an account that I need to put. Okay, sorry, just away guys, sorry, I forgot to do something. Okay, you need the migration accounts in both domains, okay, to be in the administrator group of each domain. For example, if you have in your old domain controller or in old domain you have an account, you need this account to be in the administrators group in the new domain. Okay, and if you have an account in the new domain, okay, Active Directory, you need it to be in the administrator groups in the old domain. Okay, in the old domain. So both will have both administrators will have full rights in each other's domains. For example, if you have a user in the old domain controller and this old domain controller, it is a domain admin, for example Keraof, this should be put in the administrators group in the new domain controller in the new Active Directory, so he will have full rights on the new domain on the new domain controller, and opposite or vice versa will be done. Okay, so here I am going to my old. After making the trust, you can see your old Active Directory or old domain. So we will go to our old Active Directory and choose my domain admin account in the old Active Directory and make it or put it in the administrators group in my new domain. Okay, so and we will do the exact opposite from the other side. Okay, so here I am putting the administrator account. Actually I can put any username I need, but it should be the name that we will use in the migration process. Okay, so here we can see that we have two administrators, the administrator for the new domain and the administrator for the old domain. We will do it in the old domain vice versa. Okay, this we can now, after making the trust, we can choose users and groups from the old Active Directory. Okay, so this is very critical to make the trust. Okay, or you can for the migration process to be complete, because both users will have access to each other domains. Okay, so here we will do this, and then we will go to the old domain controller, and we will put the domain admin of the new domain controller in the administrators group of the old domain controller. So this is the built-in group, and then administrators. Okay, and then we will have members, and then we need to add the administrator of the new domain in the group of administrators of the old domain. Okay, so here we will add, then we will change the location to the new grid. Here we can use our or select our new domain. Okay, and then we tell him to add the administrator account to the administrators group. So by doing this, we are giving him full rights to the old domain, and on the other side we are giving the old domain admin full rights on the new domain. Okay, so we have done this. This is the 7th step. Okay, we have the 7th step. Actually I have already added him, but there is a problem. I think I didn't make apply and okay, so I need to add it again, or I can use any other account that have the same privileges. For example, Keraof on the old domain, it is a member of the administrators group, so it can do the trick. Okay, but here I am removing it. Anyway, you just need to choose an account that have full admin rights. So here we need to change the location. I think here I am doing again, because I think it wasn't successful. So here I am adding the account of, not the administrator account, I am adding, or I add the administrator again, or here I am adding the whole group, because I have a group called incom mf underscore users in the old domain. This contains all of the IT, so I am putting them in the administrators group, okay, in the new domain, so I can use any account of the IT in the old domain to do the migration process. Okay, so this is also, you can add a user or add a group, it is your choice. Okay, so this is the old domain. I will also add the same incom mf, but it will be for the new group. Okay, anyway, so we have already done this. We need to now set up the password migration tool on the old domain. Okay, so here it's the 8th step is to install ADMT password migration DLL, or this is the installation of the password migration tool on the old domain. Okay, or the old domain controller. So here we will set up this password migration tool, pwdig, and he will ask you, okay, for the encryption key that we have created. Okay, here we'll set up, okay, next, and then we will accept the license agreement, and then next, and then here we will ask about something. Here we will ask the password migration requires a password encryption key that it is valid for this source domain. The key must be located on a local drive. The install will attempt to use the following file. So this is the encryption key, and it should be issued for the source domain, which is our old domain that contains the passwords that we need to migrate to the new domain. So we'll give him the encryption key that we have created. Okay, and we have copied it already from the old domain to the new domain. Okay, so here it is the file megpass.pse, and then next, and then you should type the password, which is pass @123. Okay, the one that we have typed in the command. And then when installing this program, he will install a service in the services of the Windows, or he will install a service in the Windows services. This service to be running, or for the migration of the passwords to be complete, this service should be up and running, and this should be run by a certain user. So you can define if you need the password migration service to be running with a certain account or not. Here I will run this. By the way, the account that will be responsible for running this password service should be an account in the new domain. Okay, it should be an account in the new domain. Okay, here I was mistaken, I put here an account in my old domain. This is not the trick. We need to have this password migration service up and running using or make it up and running using a new user in the new domain. I will show you all this process, but anyway, here I was mistaken, so no, this is not correct. Do not follow it. I will restart the server or the old domain controller and then change it to another account. So we have set up the password migration program, and this password migration program needs a service account to be up and running, so the migration of the passwords is complete. And this service should be running using a username in the new domain, not the old domain. Okay, so now we have restarted the server. Okay, and then if I go to the Windows services, you will see a service called password migration. If this service is not up and running, the password migration of the Active Directory passwords will not work. So I need to have this service up and running. Okay, and after doing all of this, we will take a checkpoint or a backup of our both domains, the new domain controller and the old domain controller. So if you go to the services, okay, I will go to the services and go to the password migration service and change the account that is responsible for running this service to be an account in my new domain, not my old domain. I will show you all this. This is very critical, okay, because this service should be running using our new domain account, okay. So this is the password export service server or password export server service, and then we will change this account. Okay, I will use another account in my new domain. So here we'll choose the location, we will choose the income grid, okay, and then this is my new domain, and we'll use the administrator account, or you can use the account that is responsible for the migration anyway. So here I am putting my administrator account, and then I'll change the password, and then I will start this service. You can tell him to start this service not manually, you can make him to start this service automatically. I will change it now. So here I'll apply and OK, has been granted as login as service. And then I prefer if you can use or create an account in both domains and name it migration service account or migration account, and use it instead. Okay, but here I'm using my domain admin accounts in both domains. Okay, so now we have our service up and running. So now we need to start you need to begin the migration process. We have created already the organizational units in the old domain. We have created them exactly by the same name in the new domain. We have done this already before. So here we have the same, okay, organizational units. This is the 8 steps. Okay, here we can see that the migration, or sorry, the organizational units in the new domain, they have the same structure as the old domain, and this was the I have already installed the migration and the software create OU in target OU. Okay, so this means create organizational units of the old domain exactly with the same name and same order in the new domain. We have done this 10 steps. Okay, and then we will begin the migration process, which is the 11th steps in this sequence: the group, Active Directory group migration, and then the user accounts migration, and then the security translation, which is the profiles or the Windows profiles of the users, and then the computer accounts migration. Okay, we'll see this, don't worry, we'll make it step by step. So here we will complete. We have done this already. So what we will do now, after doing all of this before the migration process, I need to be more cautious by what I'll do now. Here I'll make this service to be automatic, not manual, and then I will take a checkpoint of both new domain controller and the old domain controller. Okay, and then we will begin the migration process, which is the whole purpose of this lab is to begin the migration, or to migrate the Active Directory objects from an old domain to the new domain. Now we will take a checkpoint or a backup. We can say a checkpoint, it is like a backup for this virtual machine. So here I will make a checkpoint. Okay, so if anything happens, you can return back and repeat the process. This is a very good thing if you are making a critical operation. So you need to have backups or to have checkpoints. If it is virtual machines, you need to have checkpoints, or if it is physical machines, you need to have a complete backup. Okay, using different softwares, you can use Acronis, you can use Ghost, anyway, but you need to be very careful when you do the migration process. Okay, so here we have take a checkpoint from the new domain controller, and we will name this checkpoint before migration. Okay, and then we'll take a checkpoint also from the new from the old domain controller. I have already a checkpoint named before migration, so I will name this checkpoint before migration 2. Okay, So we name it before migration number 2. And then we should begin the migration process. Okay, but here I will stop here at that moment, because just a moment guys, because this video I have tried a couple of things and it was mistaken and there was some errors. So this is my first attempt. I have done a second attempt which is more organized and I didn't have any errors. So I will show you all the second step. I will pass the first step with all of its errors, and then we begin the new or the second step. So here I will open, I have already powered off the two domain controllers, and then I will get to the checkpoints as I said before, because I have a problem, okay, and I was trying some things and there was some errors. So I will restore my checkpoints for both domain controllers, and I will delete my workstation that I have already joined it the domain or joined it the old domain, which I will use it to be transferred with the Active Directory migration to the new domain. I will also delete it and create a new machine, and I will join it to the old domain as well. Okay, so here I'm just applying both checkpoints. So here, because I have a problem, so it's good thing to take a checkpoint. Okay, so I have both of them saved. I then will start the old domain controller and the new domain controller, and I will delete the workstation that have already joined the old domain. I will delete it and create a new virtual machine with a different name and join it also to the old domain controller again, or the old domain, and then we will use it to migrate it to the new domain using the Active Directory migration tool. So just a moment. So we will start it. It will be a little bit of a long video. I'll try to make it at least to be 1 hour, just not to make it more. So we have already half an hour recording, so I'll try to make it approximately 1 hour, and we'll make it on parts. Okay. This is, as I said before, an old workstation that I have already used it or joined it the old domain. Okay, so I will delete it because I have already used it in my first attempt to migrate or to use the Active Directory migration tool. It failed for some reason, so I will recreate a new virtual machine and join it to the old domain, which is mcommf.local. And I will not bother use the steps, it's very easy. I will just delete it and pause the video and create another one and join it to the domain and do all of this without letting you all see it, because it's already routine steps, so you don't need to see it again. Okay, so here I will pause the video and then create a new virtual machine and join it to the old domain. So here we will pause the video. Then we have already make a machine called HDSS MCS02. This I have already joined it to the old domain, which is mcommf.local. Now we will begin the migration process. So we will go to the new domain controller and open our Active Directory migration tool, and we will sequentially, or in a certain sequence, we will begin first migrating the Active Directory groups, then the Active Directory users, then we will stop at the Active Directory users. We need to before going to the third step, which is the security translation, we will stop at the Active Directory users, and then we will begin preparing the department shares and the Active Directory home directory folders and the different permissions on both of them. So we need to prepare the department shares and the shares as a whole on the new domain before beginning the third step of security translation migration. Okay, so now we will begin using our Active Directory migration tool. So here I'm just because this video was recorded without audio, so I'm using text files to write what was the problem. So here I am typing dear all. I will begin, or let's say in the last video, which was the previous video, okay, or the one that I'm using now, I finished the migration but there was errors. Okay, so I am repeating the process, some errors, and not all the domain is migrated, was migrated. So I am doing, so what I have done, I have already returned to my checkpoints. Okay, I will do it again as follows. So we will do the migration in this order. We will first migrate the Active Directory groups, then users, then the Active Directory users, then what we will do, we will use PowerShell scripts. Okay, so we will begin migration Active Directory groups and then Active Directory users, and then we will use PowerShell scripts to create computers. Okay, I will show you all this step but when it comes. Okay, and then we will migrate the group policies. So we will begin after that migrating the group policies from the old domain to the new domain and link it to the respective or its respective groups. Okay, so we'll have the Active Directory groups, then users, then computers, then we will migrate or import the group policies from the old domain to the new domain and make the correct configuration, and then we will create the department shares and user shares and put the different permissions on them using the PowerShell scripts, and then at the end we will migrate the computers to the new domain. Okay, so here we will migrate the groups, then users, then computers, then we'll migrate the group policies. Okay, and at the end we will after migrating the computers we will migrate the DHCP. So let's begin the process. First of all, we will tell him to group account migration. Here we tell him next, and then he needs to have the source domain that we'll migrate from. So this will be mcom.mf.local, and then which domain controller. It will be our old domain controller, which HDSS WinOSS 01, and then our target, which is the new domain, which is incomgrid.local, and then the domain controller. Okay, and then next. Here we will so let's continue. Here this is the old domain and the old domain controller, this is the new domain and this is the new domain controller, and then we will choose what to migrate. We'll migrate objects, groups from the old domain to the new domain. We will choose. Okay, so here we will going to our old domain, and we will choose the security groups organizational unit. Here this contains all of my Active Directory groups. Okay, so I need to migrate all of these groups from the old domain. I have already choose them. I will migrate them from the old domain to the new domain. Okay, and then next. which is the target EU. Here I am migrating them from the organizational unit in the old domain called security groups and put them in the security groups in the new domain or the new organizational unit. Here what I am telling him, here I need to migrate the group SID to target domain. I need to copy group members, okay, and fix membership of groups. So here what I am telling him, here he will copy the groups and with the members in this group, okay. So by this step I am copying the groups and the users in one step, okay. So because I have most of my user or all of my users in this group, so here I am copy the group members. If I have update previously migrated objects, if I have already previously migrated something, fix memberships of group, migrate group SID to target domain. So here I am choosing all of this, and you can choose update user rights. If I don't know what this option is, but you can make it as a test before doing migration. You can do if you are doing a full migration, I prefer first to do a small test to migrate a simple group, or migrate only one group and see, or migrate only one user and see, okay. And then if it is all good for you, you can begin the full migration or migrate the rest of the groups or the rest of the Active Directory objects. So here we will copy the group members, we will update previously migrated groups. So by doing this, okay, and this, we are copying the groups, Active Directory groups and users in one step, okay. So here auditing is not enabled to target domain. Local group does not exist. It's required to migrate as you would like to create it. Okay, I don't know if the SID migration is needed. I think you cannot migrate them or migrate them with the SID. I don't know actually its options, but here I am using what is the user that will be used to migrate this. It is my domain admin account in the old domain, okay, with administrative rights, okay. He said we need, if you go a little bit step further here, he can see here that the username and password of an account that have administrative rights on the source domain, which is my domain admin account. Next, and then do not migrate source objects if there is a conflict. So if there is a conflict, do not migrate the conflicted objects. Here we'll migrate passwords, okay. So we'll migrate the Active Directory username passwords, okay, or the user's password, Active Directory users passwords, we will migrate it, okay. And then if there is a conflict, target same as source, we will choose, or we accept the default setting and then tell him finish. Then we will have a small window that contains the migration process. Here is telling you the Active Directory users, groups, computers, all of this, which is examined and copied, and if there is errors, he will begin saying. So here we can see that he have one user of Active Directory examined, okay, and then it is copied. So we have 3 users of Active Directory examined and copied. So he is copying users, we can see here. So it's not only copying groups, here we are copying users, but there is a small trick. I will show you all what it is, okay. So here we are copying users and then groups. It's still copying the users, okay. So it's copying the groups with its members, okay. So you don't have to put the users in group, they are copied with their membership, okay. So the users, the groups, the group members, all of this are done in one step, okay. I will show you all when we finish the migration process. Now what is copied, okay. So here we can see that it's copying users. There is 47 users copied. This can be done using a PowerShell script, but I intended need to show you all another alternative way for copying users and groups. But this can be done using a PowerShell script. It's simple, but the user's profile. This is the step that PowerShell scripts doesn't do. You need to have the Active Directory migration tool doing it. Now it's copying the groups. We have about 12 groups. Okay, so we have copied 69 users and 16 groups. By the way, you need to make sure I have my IT group in the old domain a member of the built-in Active Directory groups like enterprise admins, schema admins, domain admins. You need to do this manually in the new domain controller as well, because this is not copied. It doesn't copy the membership of the built-in Active Directory groups. Okay, so it only copies the custom made groups. Okay, I will show you all this step. So here now we have about 69 users copied. We have 33 groups copied. So here we have a complete. We have 33 groups copied, and we have 69 users copied. You can view the log and see if there is any errors. So we have completed the first step. So here we can see that if you go to the security groups and tell him refresh, you can see the groups, but there is a little bit of a trick. Here it has already copied the users and groups in the same organizational units. These users are not in the security groups organizational unit. They are in this organizational unit, users and programs. So you have copied them in the same organizational unit of the security group. So you need to move them from the security groups organizational units to the programs organizational unit and the users organizational unit. Okay, so this is the trick. So you need to do it. So it's a little bit of a bug, I don't know, but this is good. We can do it separately, but I prefer if it's all in one step. This is good. We just need only to move them, so it's not a great deal. Okay, so we will copy them. We have programs will be in the organizational unit of programs, and users will be in the organizational unit of users. We have said before that users are like Kevin Flynn, like Sam Flynn, like the humans. So the humans are in the organizational unit of users, and the programs will be in the organizational unit of programs, like Safari, like Opera, like so and so. This is the idea of our lab, because in the grid we have programs, we don't have users, or we don't have human users. Okay, so here we are moving them all. So here we are choosing them. Okay, Walter Gibbs, this is a human, and Sam Flynn is a human, and we have Kevin Flynn also. So here we'll move them to the grid, to programs. Okay, and we'll have the rest. And we'll have the rest in the users organizational unit. And then we need to put our Encom MF users, which is the IT group, put them in the default Active Directory, or to be a member of the default Active Directory groups or built-in groups in the new domain. We have done this in the old domain, which is the domain admins, the enterprise admins, the schema admins. We need to put them in this built-in groups, and also in the administrators group. We will see that, because this is not copied. This is not copied from the old domain to the new domain. Okay, so if you choose any one of them, any one of these groups that was migrated, if you go to the members, we can see here that all of them are the same. So we have migrated the groups with the membership. Now we need to put in the domain admins group, in the new domain, we need to put the IT group, which is Encom MF underscore users. Okay, here was mistaken, it's Encom MF, so we have the same naming. Okay, so not get confused. The groups are named according to the old domain. Okay, so here we are putting the IT group in the domain admins, and then we'll put it in the enterprise admins and the schema admins in the new domain groups, so they have full rights on the new domain. Okay, and then after that we need to we need to do something here. I need to have a little bit of but first, after finishing this, why I am using a PowerShell script to create the computer objects. Okay, if you are using the Active Directory migration tool, if all of your computers in the old domain are joined in the domain, so you don't need to make a PowerShell script to migrate the computers from here to there. Okay, for me, because most of my computer objects in my old domain are not joined in the domain, I have only one computer that is joining the domain, so I will use the Active Directory migration tool to migrate this only computer account to the new domain. And as for the others which are didn't join the domain, so I can use a PowerShell script. So be careful, if you have computers in your old domain that hasn't joined your domain, you can use a PowerShell script to create them in the new domain. But if all of your computer objects which are already joined the domain, and this will be the case, you need to use the Active Directory migration tool. So this is because I have a scenario, or I have a situation in my lab. So here I will create all of my computers that have not joined the old domain. I will create them in the new domain using PowerShell script. Here what I am doing here, this is the Active Directory user home directories. I will play with, or I will add the respective permissions. So here I am adding, you remember before that in my previous video I have already added domain users Active Directory group and give them rights on this folder. So I will put mcom-mf all grid. This is also an Active Directory group that contains all of my Active Directory users. I will give them full control, and I'll add the IT group and give it full control also. This is something related to the permissions that is put on the Active Directory user home directories. Okay, so here I am just playing with the permissions, or adjusting the permissions. So here we will add the mcom-mf underscore all grid. This is a group that contains all of my Active Directory users. I have done this before in the old domain. I will give it full control, and we will add the IT group and we'll give it also full control. This is in the NTFS permissions. As for the SMB share permissions, I have already done it. So here what we will do, we have this, and then in the we will use a script, as I said before, to create the computer objects. Here also we will adjust the permissions of the background folder that contains the registry keys for the Active Directory original script, and the backgrounds and the screensavers and the lock screens for the users in my domain. Here also I will add incom all grid group and give it read permissions, and I will add the incom-mf users, which is the group of the IT. I will give it full control. Okay, so this is only adjusting the permissions. So let's continue. Here we are just adjusting the permissions. Okay, so here we're giving the folder of backgrounds that contains the registry keys for the login script, and the backgrounds for the users, and the screensavers and the lock screen. So we're adding them twice, one in the SMB share permissions and the other in the NTFS share permissions. Okay, so now what we will do now, I think we will begin the creating of the computer objects, or we'll begin importing the group policies from the old domain to the new domain. Okay, so I think now we will begin the process. And here we can see that the Active Directory, take a note that the Active Directory home folder, it is in the old domain. We need to change this, so just we can need to get a little bit back here. Just a moment. Okay, again, here we can see that this is the home folder. It's the L, but it is on the old domain, so we need to adjust this location to be redirected to our new domain. Okay, so in our new domain I have the same folder, identity disk. This contains all of my Active Directory home folders. It is in identity disk, but it's on the server number 2. This is on server number 1. This is the old one. So we'll use a script to adjust this. Okay, so it will redirect the setting, or to redirect the Active Directory to see the home folders from the old domain to the new domain. Okay, we will do it by using a PowerShell script. Okay, so this is the first thing that we will do. As you can see, also the same. So the directory, or the Active Directory home folders, are copied with the location, or copied with the setting of the old domain. So now we need to adjust this. So what we will do first I said we need to create the computer objects and the robot objects. As I said before, this is done if you have your computer objects not joined the domain. So this is why we are using PowerShell scripts and not the Active Directory migration tool. But if all of your computer objects in your old domain has already joined the domain, so you can use the Active Directory migration tool instead. Here we are running the PowerShell script. I have only one computer joining the domain in the old domain, so I use the Active Directory migration tool to migrate it. But as for the rest, they didn't join the old domain, so I will just recreate them in the new domain using my PowerShell scripts. Okay, I try to migrate them using the Active Directory migration tool, but I have some errors. Okay, here we can see that there is errors. Okay, because the script, it's still pointing to the old domain, so we need to adjust the script. Okay, so we need to go to the text file that contains the locations and the name of the computer objects. So here we will go and edit. Then we need to change, okay, here mcom-mf to incom grid new. Okay, we just need to do this, so it will recreate the objects. A simple process. Said before, the PowerShell scripts create the Active Directory objects. The names and the locations are given by this CSV file. Okay, so we need to change it and replace all, and then we need to do it again. File and save, and then if you run the script again, it will not give us any errors. We need to also change the PowerShell, or we need to change the CSV file of the robots or the computers the same. So run it as administrator. I said before, this is not needed if all of your computers in the old domain has joined the domain. As I said before, in my lab scenario, I have only one computer joined the domain in my old domain. All of the rest are objects, it didn't join the domain. So I'm using a PowerShell script to create them. I used the Active Directory migration tool to copy or migrate the computers that has not joined the domain from the old domain to the new domain, and it didn't succeed. Okay, so to use the Active Directory migration tool, you need to have your computer object already joined the domain. Okay, here you can make a small refresh. We can see that the computers are created. We need to make a small refresh, so it is the computers and this is the servers, and we need to create the light cycles, which is the the robots. We need also to change this CSV file, change it from incom-mf to another thing. So find or replace. Okay, replace, and then here you can tell him replace. Okay, and then save. Okay, and then we will recreate it. This is the robots, so we will create them. So now we have our Active Directory users, groups, and group members, and computers, not including the one that joined the domain. So all of this are done. We have already also adjusted the user rights. Okay, so now this is the part that we need to create or to import our Active Directory group policies. Just a moment, I think we have passed already 1 hour. So yes, it is 1 hour, so let's stop here. Okay, we will discuss in the second part of this video, because it is 2 hours. We will discuss how we will import the group policies from the old domain to the new domain and adjust the setting of them, and then begin after that migrating the computer objects from the old domain to the new domain. And before migrating the computer objects, we will migrate the profiles of the Windows of the joined workstations from the old domain to the new domain. So until I see you all the upcoming video, just remember we have already stopped at the minute of 26. We have this minute 26:43. So hope this video was informative for you all, and would like to thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.